Shalom Chaverim. Today is the 24th of December, Christmas Eve, and we are giving the latest update as of 4 o'clock Jerusalem time. Israeli aircraft have gone into action against terrorist targets in Gaza, and I believe this is the culmination of many, many days, indeed a whole month, of escalation of Islamic and Palestinian terrorist attacks against Israel. And indeed, yesterday they were giving some statistics and saying that in the month of November, there had been 82 terrorist attacks by the Palestinian side. As of yesterday, the 23rd of December, they were saying instead of 82, there were 167 terrorist attacks. So the number of terrorist attacks is on the increase. The rumors of Intifada, or uprising number 3, are being fulfilled. And what we have seen in the last few days is 2, 3, 4 attacks every day. Today, the final straw that broke the camel's back was the assassination of a civilian worker along the border fence between Gaza and the Negev. He was killed by a sniper. Yesterday, an Israeli policeman was stabbed in the back at a checkpoint. The day before, another Israeli policeman was attacked with a knife by another terrorist. And what we see happening is also 2 days ago, we see that a Katyusha rocket was fired into Israel. And fortunately, no one was killed or hurt, but it fell between 2 bus stops. Luckily, there was nobody at the bus stop when it happened. But it is very clear that the cycle of escalation initiated by the Palestinians is to give Israel absolutely no choice but to retaliate in kind. And as of now, we are not hearing of missiles taking off from Gaza. I believe now that the Israeli Air Force has attacked Gaza, it could be within minutes from now or hours from now. I believe we will be seeing launching of missiles from Gaza into Israel. And I believe what we will be seeing is mobilization of Israeli reserves, and the Israeli military, the Israeli government, the Israeli people are going to put their foot down and say, we have had enough from Gaza. The whole world pressured Israel to give up Gaza for peace. And Israel was forced by the world to give Gaza for peace, and we've already had 2 incursions into Gaza where the Israeli military had to go in and clean up the cesspool of this Islamic terrorism. This cannot continue anymore. Now, what may happen is, parallel to this, is as Secretary of State John Kerry is making every physical, I would say superhuman effort to bridge the gap between Israel and the Palestinians, very simply, Secretary Kerry cannot do it because the Palestinians do not want peace with Israel, period, under any circumstances. And the more Secretary of State Kerry, with the best of intentions, you know, the road to hell is paved with the best of intentions. With all his best intentions, Secretary Kerry is only going to bring about another war with the Palestinians because the Palestinians do not want peace. And in order to start a war with Israel, they're going to increase their terrorist attacks and make it necessary for Israel to retaliate, to respond in kind, just as the Israeli Air Force did just now in Gaza. You know, I want to remind you, the Israeli government has had many, many different parties in power. It could have been Labour Party, it could have been Likud, it could have been Sharon. If you remember, in the years 1996 to 1999, our Prime Minister then was Benjamin Netanyahu. And President Bill Clinton of that time brought tremendous pressure to bear on Netanyahu, horrible pressure. And because Netanyahu succumbed to the pressure of President Clinton, he lost his power base in the Likud. And in 1999, he was defeated in elections by Ehud Barak, who was also Prime Minister, also Defense Minister. In the year 2000, a year later, again, Ehud Barak came to power in elections in 1999. A year later, 2000, he was invited to the United States to the Y Plantation in Maryland to meet with President Bill Clinton and also with Yasser Arafat. And Ehud Barak made unbelievable capitulations, surrenders to the Palestinians, compromises. And this arch-terrorist, Yasser Arafat, got up and walked away. He wouldn't say anything, just walked away. This is in June of 2000. In September of 2000, 3 months later, Intifada number 2 broke out. And thousands of Israelis and Palestinians were killed through this unnecessary fighting. I would say unnecessary. It was unnecessary when you want to make peace. But for the Palestinians, we're only talking about another intifada, another uprising, another stage in the everlasting war of Islam against the state of Israel. And so similarly, I predict now what we see today is we see a Palestinian leadership delegitimizing Israel in world forums, attacking Israel in its media, inciting their children in their schools to kill Jews and destroy Israel. Nowhere in the Palestinian world today are they preparing for peace with Israel. They are preparing for the annihilation of Israel. And I'm very saddened. I don't believe Secretary of State Kerry is a bad man. I just think he is naive. He does not know what he's dealing with. And you have to remember when former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton came in 2009, all she could talk about was how horrible the Israelis were, and that the Israelis were building 100 homes here and 100 homes there, and this is the end of the world. And then in February of 2011, we had the beginning of the Arab Spring when a Tunisian fruit vendor self-immolated, burned himself because of the corruption of the Tunisian government. And then Tunisia and Libya and Egypt and Yemen and Syria, all these countries went up in flames in the Arab Spring. It had nothing to do with Israel. And everything that Hillary Clinton did, sublimating everything down to blaming Israel for everything. The U.S. paid a horrible price. The U.S. has lost its allies in the Arab world today because of the stupidity of Hillary Clinton and President Obama. And now Secretary of State Kerry is thinking that he can bring terrible pressure to bear on Israel and the Palestinians to make peace. But if the Palestinians don't want to make peace, there's going to be no peace. There's going to be a war. And today we are on the verge of, or on the eve of Christmas, and I wish all my Christian brothers and sisters a wonderful Christmas, a wonderful New Year. But I'm sorry to say the Islamic world, the Palestinian world is preparing for the Christian world a very, very special Christmas present. Shalom to everyone.